What's up everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at a project I built in AppSheets for a personnel action form. So here's a better way to manage requests for personnel changes. And best of all, you can grab a free copy of this from the link in the description. Let's take a look. So when I first started thinking about this project, I knew I could just make a better form in AppSheets. It can just do some things that say Google Forms can't, or does some of the same things better. But I really want to take it to the next level because there's so many things around intaking information from other departments in a centralized department like HR that can be done well with the workflow experience around it. So let's take a look. We're going to dive in first by looking at the form because that's where most user experiences will be, and I'll highlight some of the things that AppSheets does well. So first, this little screen is something called an onboarding screen. It's really cool because you can just put in information there like how to use the tool, and you can put multiple slides. So it's a nice kind of front-facing user experience. When we click done, it'll drop us right into the form. So here we have some things that look pretty normal, but also kind of some hidden features as we try to click through. So we see that there's some requirements here, and we also see there's some other tabs, but I can't click those tabs yet. So it's cool to be able to validate what else we can do or prevent actions for other things or show or hide things depending on what we can or cannot select in the first area. So in this case, I need to select an action before I can move on because what action I pick is going to dictate what else is on the change details side. So for example, if I click new hire, I still am required to fill these out, but I can now click the other tabs to see what's in there. And we see that it has a lot of different questions about the job, the pay, things like that. But if I go back and I click termination, it still lets me click on these, but there are a completely different set of questions about the reason for termination, the type of termination, all the things that you would need to know for that different action. So something that's kind of hidden here that is cool is that some of these fields are actually exactly the same. I'm just presenting them with a different name so that they fit the need better. So in this case, FTE status is on all of the screens, all of the actions you would pick, and it's the same field. But I call it on this screen FTE status as of termination date because I want to give that perspective of why and how you should be clicking this button for your need. So kind of something small, but really powerful to be able to use that same field for data management purposes, but presented to the user differently. So I really like that about AppSheets. Now to go back for a second, there's a few other cool things within the form that I think is worth noting. So let's click on the new hire button and go back to the change details and click on a job grade. We'll do S11 and a status, so they will be exempt. And when you do that, you'll notice that pay rate pops up. So I didn't do this on all the fields, but I did it on this one to illustrate that it is another way to manage the user experience. Click this, this pops up. Depending on what you click, maybe this will pop up. So you can do it for all the fields to make sure that people fill things out in order. You can do it for some and not others to make sure the experience is managed the way you want. In this case, I did this to illustrate also that we can tie in this form to other sets of data that we have. So I now picked a grade, a status for the employee, and I can put in a pay rate. So let's say I put in $15. As I advance down the form or I click away, the validation message changes. It says you picked this job grade, so you must enter a value between these two numbers. So it tells me two things. One, because I clicked salaried, $15 doesn't match what we expect from a salaried, a yearly type of number for pay. And also it's setting a range based on the grade selected. So now I know that I need to put in something that is between that range. And the reason why this is good is because on the HR side or on people receiving the form side, there's nothing you have to do to double check or manage that somebody didn't do this right or what number did you mean. They put it in, it says whether it should be in the range or not, and it helps everyone get clean data in so they can process everything quickly. So as we continue down, some of these are basic fields where you just pick a drop down and fill it all out so that way the team has the information to do what they need. And there's other situations that might be more nuanced for different organizations. In this case, I've experienced organizations where people are paid out of different funding codes, so you can select how you or where you want that employee to be paid out of and to what percentage of their salary is allocated there. The cool thing about AppSheets here is we're allowed to nest a table within a table. So we put in a number, we say 50% goes to this code, and the validation says it doesn't add up to 100. So again, ways to protect clean data from coming in, ways to give a better user experience. We now put in another number with 50, and it will check out saying, yep, everything matches 100, great. So really cool to be able to manage something that requires multiple layers of input of the same information in one field, so to speak, something that Google Forms definitely can't do, that brings AppSheets to the next level. Now the rest of the fields here are basically optional, whatever fits your organization's needs. Special programs, do they need access to this or that? A lot of yes or no or multiple choice button questions. But the example is you can put anything you want there and validate it to the options that you want that might help you facilitate your workflow. So if we check these off, finish up the form, and click I acknowledge, we can then hit save, and we get this beautiful your submission has been received message. If you have any questions, etc., hit done, and it brings you right back to the form. So what happens when you click save? Nothing on the surface really happens for the user who's sitting there and just fill out the form. Of course, the information gets saved somewhere, but everyone wants to get notified. So AppSheets is actually really good at being able to manage and deliver multiple different types of notifications to all sorts of groups or individuals that want it. So in this case, I have two notification types set up. One is to the person who filled out the form to say, here's the information we've received, much like Google Forms does. And on top of that, it CCs anyone in the department who should also get that information. So depending on your department structures, maybe the leader of a unit fills this out, and that needs to also notify their department head. So it goes out to whoever else you have set up that's attached to that department in the tool. And then the second email is a shorter email that just notifies the HR team that a new submission was sent in. So it's much shorter. It says, this is what came in, and for the complete details, you can click here, which will take them right into the tool, into their view, to see that information holistically and take all the actions they need on it. So pretty cool user experience, but what does it look like for the administrative side? So if you're in that admin group, if you're in that HR group, the people who are managing this form, you of course want so much more to be able to do in this tool. So of course the first thing you can do is look at all your data. So here's everything listed here of all the people who have submitted something and all the details. So if we click on this, this is the one we just submitted, so we can scroll down and see everything and verify and take the next step needed. If there's anything that came in wrong, this group also has the ability to change and edit it to finalize it. No one else can go in, the user can't go in and edit, no one else can go in and do it besides the HR team, which is what we want. We want the protections, and that's what AppSheets is good at too, is giving the right people the right information and ability to take actions on certain things. The next thing that they can do is control who can see their information and who gets notifications. So what this does is actually list out the departments and people in those departments that should be able to see this information. So maybe leaders of your units fill this out, but the department heads need to or want to see the information. They can be listed here, so that way when they're in the app, they can access that information and only that information. So they would also be able to see this list of data, but only if it's for their department, which is an amazing feature of AppSheets, control of access, who can do and see what. So what the HR department is able to do here is control who can see and get those notifications when a new thing is submitted. They can go in here and add people to this list, selecting their department, their email address, and whether they want those notifications, so they can either see their department's data only and whether they want that notification when a new one comes in or not, just so they can verify what maybe their other team members are submitting and doing. So this is a great way to manage it in-app without having to go into, say, the back end of the tool and hard code or hard manage who can get notifications on what. So similarly, we're able to give the ability to manage the other sets of data associated with this to that team. So in this case, This is the pay scale table, which controls that validation that I showed you earlier. So when you type in the pay rate, it says, it has to be between this range. So you can do that right in app without having to force that team, the HR team, into other environments to keep everything updated and managed. Directly linked, if it updates wherever their sheet is, it updates this, vice versa. So you can just click on one and go through and start adding that information to then validate when somebody clicks the job grade, what should the pay rate be between. And this is kind of because I built it around this idea of notifications around the department. I built a table so that way you can manage a list of departments. So the departments on the list for notifications is exactly the same and spelled the same way as the list on that of the actual form. So there's never going to be a case where you spelled something the wrong way and then someone doesn't actually get notified. Seems redundant, but it's just a really clean way to manage that list in one place so that way it feeds all the other places. And last but not least, again, so that way you don't have to be going into the back end of AppSheets, there is a way to control what those informational screens are right in the tool. So I'm trying to make it so these non-technical teams have the ability to control all of the aspects of AppSheets in the tool by building an admin panel without having to go into the actual backend. So in this case, we have confirmation forms and we have the how-to forms. So if I want to change the message that people get when the form is complete, I can click on this and change all that stuff. So again, just a really clean way to allow non-technical teams to attempt to manage all the complexities that would be in here. That's it for the tour. Thank you so much for watching. As promised, there's a link in the description where you can go to a template for this and make a copy and fit it to your own organization. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments and I'll try my best to address them. Also, if you want to see a full back-end explanation of these features, leave some comments and likes and let me know, and I will make another video to show you how all this works. Thanks everyone, we'll see you next time.